I might die. I might like actually die. So in my youth, I was a up-and-coming car flipper. At least I tried to be. I would buy cars, work on them a little bit, modify them, and then sell them on. And I was kind of like a wheeler dealers, but with no money and working out of my parents' driveway. One time, I bought a sight unseen Porsche, and I'm a big Porsche fan. I loved Porsche for a while, but I've never actually owned one. And this isn't actually a Porsche. It's like the black sheep, the 944. But this one was a 944S. It had a 16 valve engine. It made 100 and something horsepower. I don't know, something thereabouts. But it was more than the 8 valve. And it was pretty rare. So I found one on eBay, running and driving, and the guy wanted $1,500 or something. But since I was 18 and had basically no money, I decided to lowball him, as you would, because you're 18 and you have no money. That's all the money you have, and you want a Porsche. So I offered $800, and he took it because it was a project car that he was getting rid of. But nonetheless, he said it ran and drove. At the time, I was living in New Jersey, and the car was in Connecticut. That was about a 3 to 4 hour drive. I decided that I would elect the help of a friend with a car just to drive me over there. And then I would bring the car back just on its own volition, with me getting a temporary tag or something. I embark on this journey with my friend, and we're so excited to get this car. And I'm thinking, well, these cars are going up in value. They're rare. This one is in great shape. I mean, it wasn't in great shape, but it's in great shape for a car flipper. I can do a lot with it. All the parts are there. They just need to be put back on. Sort of your loss is my gain. And when I got there, it was quite a different story. It was not really a runner. It had some rat's nests. It definitely had a fair few animals living in it, now deceased. The interior was just kind of strewn all over the place. So I had chair literally like 90 degrees, just kind of thrown in there. All the dash panels were everywhere. Obviously none of the AC worked, nothing like that. And the car wouldn't start. So I had to basically go to a auto parts store. And this is at the tail end of a day where we spent 3 hours at the DMV trying to get a temporary tag for this. I went to the auto parts store, got some spark plugs, did an oil change basically in this guy's parking lot. And the guy was like, well, it ran when it got here. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't run now. So we eventually got the car to start. It had some really bad gas. Apparently it's been sitting for a year or more. So the gas congealed, it just turned to varnish. And the car then kind of limped to life running on 2 or 3 cylinders. I want to, maybe 3. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. So it could move under its own power. I drove it down the street and it was very, very sketchy. But it was good enough where I can now embark on the journey of the 3-hour drive back home. So that might have been a mistake, and hopefully if my mom is watching, I'm sorry, none of this is true. So, or you can just turn it off right now. You don't want to listen to this. So a very young and quite stupid me embarked on this journey from Connecticut to my parents' house in New Jersey, where I was driving this $800 Porsche 944. And it was making some crazy racket from the engine area. There was a lot of smoke, quite an alarming amount of smoke coming from the engine because the valve cover had a good size hole in the gasket. So it was dripping directly onto the exhaust manifold and creating a lot of smoke coming into the cabin. The windows worked halfway. I think the passenger side window didn't work at all, but I could lower down the driver's side window, but I couldn't raise it back up. It was just weak enough not to go back up. When I started on the highway, which is something you definitely do want to do when you have an $800 car running on 3 cylinders, I realized that the car had a really bad alignment problem. So it would veer to the right very violently, but it was good because when I pressed the brake, it veered to the left. But when we got on the highway, you have trucks going 85 miles an hour near you, and I'm like, I might die. I might like actually die. And then it started raining. And then there was a torrential downpour, which is a good time to realize that your windshield wipers don't work. So the windshield wipers don't work. The only thing I had in the car was an oily rag that I used to check the oil. I'm doing, I want to say 60, and I'm sticking my hand outside like this, like it's Ace Ventura or something, sticking his head out the window with all his glass cracked. I'm trying to wipe off the torrential downpour. Trucks are going past me. I have no idea how I made it home that night. It was pretty interesting. That was the most sketchy thing I've ever had as far as a car. To its credit, maybe it's a Porsche thing, but it started running a little better. I think that fourth cylinder came back alive around hour 2 or 3, and it started actually making a lot of sense. I could rev it out a little bit. I don't want to take any chances here, but it was quite a nice experience when I came back home, other than the alignment being like seriously sketchy. When I got it home, I realized that the sway bar on one side was completely disconnected, wasn't even connected to the car. So one side was getting some tension on the sway bar, which was just shoving it in one direction, and with the brakes, one of the brakes was just not working. So it had way more air in the line than it needed, and the correct amount of air is 0. So it's like if you get home and you realize that the sketchy ride that you just took is way worse than you could have ever imagined. It's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, when you think everything's fine, and then you look under the car like, wow, this is, I was very, very, I was on the edge of certain death here. So yeah, definitely, when you're driving cars sight unseen back home, you should probably look underneath them just to see that everything is connected. Yeah, after I fixed that, the car actually ran very well. I got all that old oil and old gas and all the fluids out, and the car ran beautifully after that. I had to change the filter, and I had to do a bunch of stuff as far as cosmetic mods. But, that car actually made me, I think, somewhere around $1,000 worth of profit, which is not great in the realm of Porsche cars, but for a 18 or 19-year-old me, that was a lot. It was just fantastic. That's something I hope to never do again, but who knows? Knowing me, I might just do that again. It was kind of fun. Like, there's a little part of my brain that goes, I kind of want to do that again.